Okay, hello everybody. So welcome to Explaining Gendered Patterns in Health. This is the next topic we need to look at when we're thinking about the different subtopics for your second essay. But also this is going to be useful for anyone that is interested in inequalities and inequalities in health. Okay. So let's just start off by having a little think about what we already know about the link between gender and health and any patterns or recurring themes that you might already know. So this will have come up in previous sessions. So maybe just make a couple of notes around this. Okay, so we'll address a lot of these themes throughout this PowerPoint, but let's just have a think about a couple. So we already know that there's a link between gender and health. That's quite clear from the data, and we know that actually men have a shorter life expectancy than women. Women live longer than men. Women have more ill health than men and report more mental ill health. And again, this could be around things like that they actually just present with more conditions, or it could be that women actually are better at reporting and better at getting treatment than men. So these seem to be a recurring theme. So even though everyone's life expectancy is increasing, actually there's still a gap between men and women. And there's lots of links with social class and things like that as well. Right, so let's just have a little think about gender. We know that gender is socially constructed, as in gender is something that we agree on. It's an agreed set of norms and values. It's not actually biological. And this can vary from society and from time to time. So if we look over time, over history, gender meant different things to different groups and at different times. Gender is a social construction. Biology and sex are fixed. Gender is constructed. And yes, it's all around socially constructed and accepted norms and behaviours. So women are expected to behave one way, men are expected to behave another. Men being brave, women being seen as more caring. So these are actually just socially constructed ideas, not necessarily truth. So, as always, if we think about applying some sociological perspectives to health and social care, and I encourage you to, as a starting point, to go and look at Barry and Ewell, their sociology textbook, also Sarah Nettleton, sociological textbook, and Giddens, and then from there have a look at their references that they've used, and also have a look at some wider sociological texts, and then also some key theorists. So from those core texts, you should actually be able to find more references for your essay and for your work. Okay, so the obvious one to look at when we're thinking about gender is feminism. We could also apply Marxism here, because Marxism focuses on kind of dominant groups and having power over other groups. But let's think about feminism. So the feminist approach in relation to healthcare would discuss the ideas around male-dominated healthcare. So traditionally, and still to some extent today, healthcare is dominated by men. If you think about it, traditionally, it was only doctors that were men, and women that were nurses. But obviously now that we don't have that anymore, there's much more open, the profession. But there's still this kind of idea that a lot of people in power are men within the healthcare sector, and those men are making decisions which directly impact women and women's bodies. Okay, so this is one area that we can think about. We might also think about the medicalization of pregnancy and childbirth. So if you remember, the medicalization of something is the idea that we're turning an everyday or a normal occurrence into a medical condition. And we could talk about childbirth being medicalized, something that's quite natural, that up until not too long ago was quite commonly children were delivered at home by a midwife. This is much more medicalized. Now, on the flip side of that, we could actually say that this is medical development and medical knowledge, and it's actually quite good that baby and mother are monitored throughout. But that's just another point to think about. Other areas we could think about in terms of gender and healthcare is this idea that contraception is mainly aimed at women. So there was a male contraceptive pill that began to develop. There was research done around it, but actually, we only have the female contraceptive pill. So why hasn't the male one been pushed forward? Again, we see a high level of women reporting with mental health problems, and again, this could be because women are better at dealing with their problems. Basically, they have very good support networks, so they're better at kind of reporting it, whereas men may not. But if you look at any of the ONS data, you'll be able to see these trends. And then there's a point here that's kind of thinking about women's mental health from a feminist point of view. So these issues that women face in their lives, so maybe women are having to do a double day, still have their traditional caring role and a career, then women present with medical problems. The medical world prescribes them with medication, and this actually medicalizes something that is actually their everyday life, and it actually moves the problem away from the inequalities that women face in society, and actually makes it seem like it's a medical problem when it's actually society that needs to be altered. What are some of the trends? Let's have a think. Okay. So why do we think these trends are happening then? So maybe just jot down, I've said that men and women have different life expectancies, the behaviours have an impact, so think about why that might be, and then I'll put some points up on the screen. Okay, so these are quite extensive. I'll just scan through these quite quickly, but what you could actually do with these is you could take one or two of these, or three of them, and they could actually form paragraphs for an essay if you were writing an essay around gender and health. So it's almost like quite a good plan. And then you could do some further research to back up each point. But let's have a really quick look at them then. So women's life expectancy is higher than men, we know that. Women still earn less than men, so this could impact them. So maybe that could be a link with the ill health. So women are not earning as much as men. We know there's that glass ceiling where women aren't earning as much as men. So again, supporting a family, this could be a problem. If women aren't earning as much money, they may be choosing to, heat the house rather than eat, again affecting health. So infant mortality rates for boys tends to be higher than for girls. More women are in lower paid jobs than men. Well, we've kind of talked about that with this one. This is even the case in kind of the media and things. If you look up male versus female salaries, you'll see that the highest paying kind of media professionals is much lower for women versus the highest paid men. Women have higher reports of illness than men. Again, this could be because they are physically reporting it more, or that they are more prone to illness because of their jobs and the stresses on their lives. The idea that we don't know we don't know if this is because of do women present with more, or is it just they report more illness, is actually called the clinical iceberg. So you might want to look up the clinical iceberg. But essentially the clinical iceberg is this idea that we only know really 1/3 of what's going on in terms of medical data, and that 2/3 is actually not reported. So women are more likely to be on means tested benefits. So possibly if there's a child, the woman may actually end up looking after the child and be forced not to work. In terms of risk behaviours, so for men dying younger, men tend to take more risks. So they tend to drink more, smoke more, do more drugs. We'll just go down this way for now. So men tend to do more dangerous sports than women. And when they do those sports, they're more likely to take risks. They may take more risks than women and, be involved in more road accidents, things like that. Just jumping back over here, women are more likely to live in poverty in later life, as they won't have an employer's pension. So possibly if the male's been the breadwinner, the female might not have paid into a pension and may not receive a full pension. Women are less likely than men to have a full state pension as they have had family commitments again. So this is another argument around the pay gap. The idea that because women, need to be off for maternity leave, that they often fall behind their male counterparts in the pay. But that's just one reason for it. There's many other factors, including like discrimination. So let's just do this quick activity then. Which of these are biology? So which of these are genetic and sex related, and which are social and cultural? So gender. So which of them are biological, as in we couldn't change them, and which are just ones that we construct around gender? Okay, so I'll let you read through them. You might want to pause the video here, and then I'll put the answers up. Okay, so it's actually only women can get pregnant and men cannot. Women can breastfeed babies and men cannot. And men's voices break at puberty and women's voices don't. They're the only points that were actually biological. The rest were all cultural and social. So the rest were all constructed. So I think that kind of proves the point around gender roles and the construction of gender. Okay, this might be a good activity to do if you're thinking of picking this topic for one of your essays. So find one good source. So maybe use Google Scholar or the online library or an academic textbook that you have, and try and find an article or a piece of writing that looks at gender differences in health. So this could be, it also could be a news article, or probably an academic source will be best, and present examples back to the class, or in this case, because we're working from home, maybe just make some bullet points, and that could form part of your essay. Okay, so most of today's references are from ONS or World Health Organization, two extremely reliable sources. Any kind of data, I would, for the UK, certainly go for Office for National Statistics, and then around conditions and other illnesses and certainly around things like the COVID pandemic, have a look at World Health Organization as well. Okay, so that's everything I wanted to talk about, just really quickly about health and gender. But just to summarize, the main points are really that men and women are treated differently when it comes to healthcare and treatment. So women's bodies are kind of medicalized, and a lot of conditions that women have are medicalized versus men. Healthcare is dominated by men, making decisions for females and the female body. Women live longer than men, but women present with more ill health. And then think about factors like the clinical iceberg. So do we really know, if we're going to be critical, do we really know how much illness is actually out there? Is it that men just don't report ill health as much as women? And we know this could be a factor. Also, men take more risk behaviours than women, and that again explains the differences in life expectancy. Okay, so I hope that's helpful. Just a really quick summary, and follow these links if you want a little bit more info on any of the things we've looked at today.